Okay, now, are y'all ready to hear the announcement? All right, people. So, the news is, the announcement is, the proclamation is, Niko House is officially a member of RT. Yes, that RT, or Russia Today. I will be getting my own show in addition to a few other segments. I will also be joining the show for, I'll be joining like other people's shows to give commentary on actually mostly foreign policy stuff. So obviously some domestic policy stuff, but they really like, the way we cover foreign policy over here at MCSC, and that's kind of what made them take a liking to us. And so they've been watching us for a while and decided to go ahead and pull the trigger. We will be doing a lot more traveling because RT also loves the investigative journalism that we've been doing here. So they want us to not only cover investigative stories around the country, but also around the world. So we will be doing that as well. One of the stories that we want to cover, it's a combination of the two most important issues to us, which is foreign policy and election integrity. And so since everybody wanted to call Cuba a dictatorship, the team is going to go down and we are going to actually interview people on the ground about Cuba's elections, like during their elections, so that we can actually get an accurate portrayal of the people's opinions about their elections. And hopefully we get a little bit of substance from both sides. We're also going to do, like I said, a lot of investigative work. You already know that we've done that. We do that, especially, to the best of our abilities since COVID came, but we like being on the ground. The thing that has stopped us from being on the ground more than we have been has just been funding. And that's not going to be an issue anymore. We're going to be able to go get the stories that you like to hear. We're going to be able to get the stories that we need to hear. And we're going to have the platform to tell those stories in a way that I feel like is going to make a lot of positive, or help us make a lot of positive change in this world. So we've arrived. We're here. Thank you for all the congratulations. We greatly appreciate it. Like I said, it's still kind of like I don't know, surreal, I guess is the word. Still kind of surreal because I still am trying to like process getting rewarded for being honest. That doesn't really happen much in our line of work. I'm surprised that somebody was like, hey man, we want you to do more of that, okay? You should do more of that. We want to give you a bigger platform to do more of whatever the hell it is that you do over there. And I got to give a huge thank you, one, to the amazing, staff and the producers over at RT for recognizing this whole network, because they had high praise for everybody on the network and the work that we do. And I also want to, just give praise and recognition to the ones who make the network, function, which is the amazing people on this network, whether it be Convo Couch, who've been down with us from the very beginning, Fiorella Pasta and Johnny. I mean, literally, I found Pasta and Fiorella before Johnny even got a part of the Convo Couch. I found them when they had like 200 followers. The Convo Couch was just some random studio at that point before they decided to move in together for the long haul and do this show full time. The Robbie, the way I found Robbie, actually, I had been following Robbie for a little bit, but the way I found him as far as his investigative journalism is concerned was that groundbreaking CAA article. And we're actually about to have an interview with Rose McGowan. I'm going to be talking to her, and because of Robbie, I'm actually going to be able to have a conversation with her about not only what was going on with Cuomo, but from a different perspective, talk about CAA. And that's because of Robbie being able to just do the great work that he's done at a time where nobody else wanted to go that deep. And Robbie always goes that deep and doesn't get the credit he deserves. And we're going to start making sure that he get his flowers too. Because Robbie is going to be writing for RT. Did you know that? Because it's happening. Oh, yeah. All y'all little blue checks that like stealing Robbie's work? Yeah, that's just done. That's over with. It's done. Yeah. So, also, you got Slow News Day with Steve and Glory and Allie and Sleepy Josh. They do just absolutely amazing work. You know, they're closely aligned with the Assange crew. So, you know, that the stuff that they do is invaluable to what we're doing as journalists. And they cover it to a degree that no one else covers it. And that's amazing that they, you know, were gracious enough to join when they did. And Glory's probably the smartest person at her age that I've ever met and will ever meet, or likely to ever meet again, unless I decide to have a kid. You know, and so I want to thank them, and, you know, Misty and Jesse with Facts on the Ground. I mean, they're just amazing. I mean, really, like I said, especially Misty is on the ground all the time, always doing work, always organizing events. And that's, by the way, that can be said for literally any of the other people, like everybody else. And if they're not on the ground, you know, because they can't be there. I mean, I just saw what happened with Franco out here just dishing out flamethrowers to Ryan Grimm and AOC and Corey Bush. Shout out to Franco and Frank Analysis. I remember Franco, he came to me. He said that he just wants to know how to do this full time and do it the right way. And we had one conversation, and that was like in 2019. We had like one conversation about it. Next thing you know, we're here, and Franco is the man. And he took that advice to heart, and now he does this full time. And you know, Robbie, like I said, Robbie's amazing. And who am I forgetting? I know I'm forgetting somebody. Did I say Pasta's name? I want to forget Pasta's name because he'll get sad about it. You know, Pasta's a little emotional. Who am I? Oh man, can't forget the Brooks and Pedro from HMO, and of course Sky Daddy, who joined us, and actually she's just started her podcast. So that's all about to be, like, all of that is about to be amplified on 10. All of that, all the work that you love, you about to love it even more. It's about to be amazing. We're even about to work on this piece where we try to cover two different sides of major events so that we can figure out the biases that people have when they do cover them, and hopefully come together and figure out, okay, why are we covering this like this? Is this an honest approach? Why do we feel compelled to talk about it from whatever angle we talk about it from? And then hopefully we can find agreements and start getting our journalism more streamlined based off objectivity and honesty, rather than falling into a partisan divide, and hopefully bring people together along the way in the process. So, like, we have a lot of great plans ahead of us, and I'm really, really excited that RT gave us this opportunity. Now, with that being said, let's see if our guy is ready to go. Thank you so much for all the... Oh yeah, and David too. David cool, but he already know. Oh, and of course, Jared and Liz, man, you're right. Jared and Liz, who helped to start the DNC fraud lawsuit, they were the main attorneys in the case, and they were kind of the ones that had the most faith in me whenever I was like, yeah, I kind of want to sue the Democratic Party, and I think that we have a legitimate argument. And Jared's like, shit, let's do it. And we got all the way up to the Supreme Court, and then Clarence Thomas was the one who got our case as Joe Biden became the nominee. Yeah, that sucked. But other than that, it looks like our guy is ready. You ready, Rob?
Yes, sir.
Ooh, I love to hear it. It's about to be a crazy show, man. We got a lot to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you all Robbie, not Jaeger. Robbie, not Jaeger. Oh boy, Robbie Jaeger. Yeah, I know I spell that man name wrong every single time.
Every time, but you did it though.
Bro, I thought about doing it again just to see what you want to say. How you been, bro?
I've been doing just fine, man. I've been busy, but you know, I can't complain, really. You know, living life. You know what I'm saying? I'm like just trying to take the
busy getting blocked
good with the bad and just keep going.
But you busy getting blocked, huh?
Oh God, we'll get into that. We'll gonna save that.
Hey, look, everybody knows at this point, unfortunately, Nina Turner lost to her establishment opponent, and a lot of people have been presenting their reasons as to why Nina lost. Now, I'm gonna be very honest with everybody. A lot of people namely almost everyone who has an opinion blaming someone on YouTube for why Nina did not do as she is as expected, as well as expected. All of them have never worked in politics. They've never been on the ground. They had no intention of being on the ground anytime soon. They don't know the consultants involved. They don't know how campaign finance works. Hell, they're speaking boldly about the campaign finance that took place, and they actually didn't even know the correct numbers. They were out here telling people that Nina got outraised when she did not. And the reason we know that is because our guy over here, Robbie Jaeger, keeps the receipts. That's why we always feel good and confident when we pop up the customer service ready to get loud. So, Robbie, one of the main reasons people say that Nina Turner lost is because she had dark money spent against her. And her opponent raised a lot of dark money. But you said something that kind of caught a lot of people's attention, and once again caught you a lot of blocks, that kind of contradict that entire narrative, which is that Nina doubled her opponent in fundraising. Correct?
So, well, okay. So but those two things are two separate issues, right? So let's start with the super PACs, right? Because I feel like out of all of the reasons that have been discussed as to why Nina Turner lost, I do feel like that super PACs did have a lot to do with it, but maybe I'm not willing to put all of the blame on the super PACs, and I'll tell you, and we'll get into that later. Yeah, so super PACs, for those that don't know, cannot donate to campaigns, right? So how they contribute is like basically being a limitless advertising budget for whatever opponent that they decide to support or oppose. They can just spend limitless money, and they do direct mailers, all those flyers you get in your mailbox, all the ads you see on television and on the radio. Most of those actually come from super PACs, not campaigns. And so, look, yes, it is very true that in the second quarter of the year, getting down the stretch of the election, the Democratic majority for Israel super PAC did spend like just a hair over $2 million. Most of which went in the form of anti-Nina Turner television ads. Now, and also Third Way, we all know Third Way, right? They jumped in with about $500,000, right?
Makes sense.
Now that's not to say that Nina Turner herself did not have some super PAC support or a super PAC behind her, because she did.
Because you did,
right?
I was like, she did actually. But.
She had there was multiple, and one was actually started specifically for to supposedly combat the DMF5 PAC. It's called the Democratic Action PAC, and it was funded by Justice Democrats. It was funded by Working Families Party, the Working Family Party Super PAC. It was also funded by this man named Charles Dunlop, who is like a genetic company CEO. He's a longtime donor to Justice Dems and stuff. He's a multimillionaire, right? But they just simply didn't get they didn't get the support, nor did they have the impact that DMFI had. That's a legitimate argument that can be made. I mean, the breakdown was $3 million in super PAC spending, which benefited Brown, as opposed to roughly $1 million in super PAC spending that benefited Nina Turner. But that's definitely something. Look, and my thing is that, for one thing,
now you say super PAC. Now, real quick, you said super PAC spending that benefited either candidate or the other. But my question would be, was that the amount of money that her super PAC raised, as far as Nina's, like the one that was benefiting Nina? Because that's spending is different than raising. Because now that's a whole different world.
They raised just about as much as they spent. The Democratic Action Super PAC that started for Nina Turner only spent about $500,000 roughly. Okay. Spent about $500,000, and they raised about the same. Now, the numbers that we have publicly available are only good through July 14th. So we will get another report on the later spending as the race got closer to its conclusion, but we won't have that paperwork for a little bit.
Gotcha.
So now that we've got the obvious out of the way, like obvious super PACs are bad, one, obviously, which is why we need to try to get overturned Citizens United, which allows them to exist in the first place. But number two is that I think maybe this put a lot of people off because I felt like it was anytime you reported anything not blushing about Nina Turner, people were giving you the side eye, So just the fact that I reported that, and I wasn't the only one. to report that there was a super PAC backing her. She got support from Working Families Party. She got support from Justice Dems. They all have hybrid super PACs, right? When Justice Democrats made themselves a hybrid,
you reported on it.
I did. You know how they funded it, but how they funded it was they took a big pool of donations that had been previously given to them, which was originally intended on being dispersed to campaigns because it was that kind of PAC, and then they transferred it over, as hybrid PACs can do, to fund the super PAC arm, right? So Working Family and Move On even chipped in to help Nina Turner some. It just, like I said, it just didn't hold up weight. So, I mean, yeah, but the response for Nina Turner, like, we're getting hit by the super PAC. What's the response? Out of all this time of, we rally against super PACs when they're bad. The progressive response is always to start one of their own. And that's
at least at the political level, yeah.
Yeah,
at the actual electoral level, yeah.
Because they talk all this game about how super PACs are bad, but when the chips are down, they start them, they use them just the same as Democrats. They just don't use them as well. But here's the thing that got me blocked by your boy, Mike
Figueredo from the Humanist guys.
From the Humanist Report. All right. And I legitimately, like, whatever. Like, if you're that soft and you're just going to block me just because I gave you some facts, I don't care. Because, he's one of these YouTubers, Tim Black being another one that's just gone completely off the rails, basically putting most of the blame on YouTubers and podcasters or people that just weren't completely shilling for Nina Turner this entire time.
When the greatest quote, by the way, that like Mike and Tim and the like have come up with is, I think one time Jimmy Dore and like maybe the Combo Couch, and I've said I'm not donating to any candidate until they give me a reason to, and nobody has thus far. But basically it was those two who are like, I'm not going to donate my money to anyone running in the Democratic Party because that's a waste of money. I'd rather put that money towards direct action. And so they took that as somehow that persuaded Ohio voters not to vote for Nina.
I'm sorry, but I'm in the camp of I would never be able to look at somebody and tell them that I wholeheartedly think they should donate to a campaign. I mean, not at this stage in my life. Maybe in the past, but not anymore, man. Like, I just can't, because there's so much money. And look, Nina Turner, and this is what got me in hot water with Mike, or got me blocked by Mike, is because he said, hey, you guys were encouraging people to not donate to Nina Turner when you know how monetarily disadvantaged she was. And that's just not the case. And like, even Tim Black, when he got started on his rant last night, or not last night, but whenever he did a couple of days ago.
And we're going to talk about that rant, by the way, because I want your opinion about it. I got Franco.
I got an opinion on it. You know what I'm saying?
I believe you do.
But look, he's over here saying, well, people, he made it sound like, when he said that, it was just like a block of $5 million that was just, all used at once. Basically, like, Nina got $5 million and, it was just one block of money that was used the whole time. That's just simply not accurate.
That's not how that works either.
Not at all. In the first quarter of the year, she raised $1.5 million and spent 1.1, right? Or I'm sorry, she raised $1.5 million in the first quarter of the year. She spent $839K. She went into April with $1.1 million in the bank, right? And then from April to July 14th, she raised $2.3 million, spent $2.8 million, and still had $650K in the bank, right? She did not just get one block of money that was used up throughout this they had to make it. Like, I got to make this stretch. That is not how that worked at all. Nina Turner even told Jordan Chariton of Status Coup after her concession speech that she thinks she raised close to $6 million. And I'm inclined to believe her.
Yeah, bro, the amount of text messages they were sending out, I'm not surprised.
And that's what and this is where
it makes you want. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No. Go. I was just going to say, this is where I start getting away from, yes, the super PAC thing. While she did have one of her own, they did not compete, right? The super PAC wave came out late. They had a good strategy. I mean, honestly, and we'll get into this, I'm sure, eventually. But it's a 12-round fight, right? And they had a better strategy, and one of the reasons why is they had better strategists. And again, we'll touch on that in a second. But Nina Turner, I didn't see many ads. The only thing I ever saw for Nina, now granted, I don't live in Ohio, right? So I'm not seeing TV stuff there. But just in my research, because look, I've been covering this election since Nina Turner announced it back in December, right? So I've followed the money this entire time. And, you know, all I ever saw was fundraising advertising for Nina Turner, which I feel like progressives in general have a huge focus on fundraising.
Can I go ahead and take that one, Robbie?
Take it. Yeah,
So,
go ahead.
The point that Robbie brings up is very problematic. I don't know if y'all realize this. Because when you consider the fact that the consulting firm that she hired was just one of these spin-off consulting firms that came from staff members in Bernie Sanders' campaign. Also, Jeff Weaver was also one of her advisors, apparently. Now, the problem with both of those things are they managed to lose an election for the most popular campaign in the history of the world twice, once against a man who couldn't remember what he ate for breakfast, people, who said overtly racist shit in the middle of his campaign. That was the consultant. So there has always been a problem within the Bernie camp with the monetization of activism. This has been an issue. We've talked about it a lot. It's one of the reasons we didn't get along with a lot of the people within Bernie's campaign. So they did a lot of fundraising, a lot of texting, and I guess we're gonna figure out a little bit more what the money was spent on when the next iteration of financial documentation comes out. But like, I'm inclined to believe that they used that consulting firm and Jeff Weaver used Nina as a money grab. That's what they did. That's what I believe.
Well, here's my thing, man. It's like Jeff Weaver couldn't win a race or he couldn't lead a race if he was driving the pace car, right?
Literally.
Like he could not lead two back tires to victory if he was the front wheel on a wheelbarrow in a wheelbarrow race. He's incompetent. He hasn't won anything since Jungle Juice came in the carton.
Oh shit! Hey, that's not even hyperbole.
No, it's not. And
it's not even hyperbole.
Why do they continuously use these same people that just lose and are just completely incompetent pretty much every time? Like Chuck Rocha, I mean, one of his firms was one of the firms Nina Turner used to do.
He's incompetent and a thief.
Stuff. And look, Jeff Weaver's the same guy, right, that broke away from Bernie camp last election after Bernie dropped out. And the first thing that Jeff Weaver did was start a super PAC to try to get Bernie supporters to vote for Joe Biden, and he funded it with with millions of dollars from like $4.5 million from the 1630 fund, which is a massive dark money group that just, you know, and that's all they do is fund super PACs and the like. So like his morals are not there. He is in it for the business. He's not in it for the win, right? And I'm glad you brought up consulting because it's a huge deal. Here's the total consulting costs. Nina Turner spent $423,000 from January to July 14th. $423,000 according to
holy shit,
consultants.
Bro, this is a fucking congressional race. Who the hell is me? Bro, how's your lead shrinking and somehow somebody is made just from January to July $400,000? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Well, look, from January to July, Nina Turner, $423,000 or $423,807 spent on consultants. Chantel Brown, in the same time span, $197,808. Nina Turner.
No. You can't just. Nah, I need you to say that again. I think people might get confused. They might have thought you meant it the other way around. So I
didn't. I said what I said. Yeah, Nina Turner, $423,000 on consultants from January to July. Chantel Brown, $197,000 on consultants in that same time period.
That's crazy.
Now look, the only thing I will say that if I was going to be devil's advocate here would be, you know, I raise more money so I can spend more money, right? But see, my problem with that is, again, your strategy was all wrong. Nina Turner, overall, for the whole year, spent $2.3 million on ads, right? just over $2.3 million on ads funded by her campaign. Chantel Brown, $1.2 million, right? But again, now you add in the super PAC spending, after which, you add in the millions of dollars that DMFI put in. Chantel Brown wound up with, a plus $692,000 on advertising spending. So she did come out on top on ad spending. But here's the problem with what Nina Turner did or I'm not going to say her specifically. It's the people
you mean instead of paying the consultants, she paid for the ads that the consultants should be putting together?
I honestly definitely think she spent too much on consultants. I mean, look, there's like $250,000 there at least you can take out, spend on ads.
That's crazy.
And a lot of these ads were going out. A lot of these ads were fundraising ads. So that can't be understated. Is that there's a difference between an ad asking for funds than an ad giving you the platform, right? And like again, I don't live in Ohio, so I'm not going to see the local spots. I'm sure there were, right? But Chantel Brown spent more on canvassing, and she spent more.
Wow, that is an indictment right there, bro. Oh my God, you can't be considered a grassroots campaign whenever your opponent spends more money on your establishment opponent spends more money on canvassing than you do. I do think go ahead.
I would just like to also say that look, spent slightly more, but also this obviously doesn't count volunteers either, right? So you can't really know how many volunteers. You can't really quantify that. But go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, no, I mean it doesn't count volunteers, but that's also a little bit problematic too, right? It's like you didn't spend a lot of money on canvassing. We don't know what the number is for volunteers. But then again, how many volunteers should you have actually had to use, considering how much money you raised, and it's a congressional race? So they should pay more volunteers then. Damn it, pay more people at that point. We as a unit, progressives are fully aware of how much of a struggle it is for our issues to be funded adequately to get the change we need. So when you see hundreds of hundreds of thousands of people hundreds of thousands of dollars end up just being like, but we don't know what the money was spent. We don't even know. You talking about how much money she had in the bank after each quarter. Like that's insane to me, because when you can't blame Israel for coming out and shutting you down. My question is always in those situations and circumstances, what was your response? Did you just let them do it?
Well, they didn't. It's been documented by other people that have been covering the race that Nina Turner did not fight dirty in her ads. And if she did, it came very, very late, or too late, because the damage is already done, by then. Because this is one thing, as a progressive, or even as like a smaller party candidate, you don't even have to be a progressive Democrat. You could be a third party or whoever. Mm-hmm. This is one thing you absolutely just have to know. It's common sense, especially if you supposedly have consultants that have been in the game for like decades, and they still don't have the wherewithal to understand the fact that the establishment is always going to come for you. They're always going to smear you. They're always going to be dishonest and misleading. They're always going to use super PACs. Always. Facts. Right? They're always going to do these things. They're always going to.
So my first question would be to any consultant. Say if I was running the campaign. Now, granted, I wouldn't really need all that many consultants. I'm not going to lie. But if I was going to pay for a consultant, my first question would be, we're going to inevitably be attacked by every single establishment force on the planet. What is your plan to make sure that they are ineffective? That would be my first question. How that isn't a question is beyond me. And even when they responded with the Israel stuff, when they smeared, because they were basically trying to say that she doesn't sound like a Democrat. All you would have had to do, play quotes side by side of the average Democrat and the average Republican, and then play your own quotes. Right? That's something simple. You can edit that shit in Final Cut Pro with your 17-year-old niece doing the editing for you. Like, it's not hard. But it seems like people, once again, you got to wonder what the money is being spent on, because it clearly wasn't being spent on strategy. And there was no question as to, there was no inclination that there was a cohesive and productive strategy that was being put together to combat what we always experience and knew were coming. We always experience it. Not one time have we not.
Yeah.
Nina more than most.
Go ahead. I I had to look up Biden's approval rating because, like, look, and the reason I do that is because the ammo was there for the establishment, right? They're gonna immediately, the first thing when I file my candidacy, I know my opponent. The first thing they're gonna do is go dig up the bull of shit quote, and use it against me, right? And I mean, look, you were speaking truth. I'm not saying Nina Turner was not speaking truth when she said that at all, but when we're playing politics, this is a problem for you whenever you've got a president with a 50% approval rating and his approval rating among Democrats is far higher. And you're in a Democratic primary. That's just not gonna help you. And it sucks, but it is what it is. But look, there was plenty of stuff for Chantel Brown to be going on. All the money that she was moving, all the contracts she was moving to her boyfriend's firm while she was in the state legislature. That was being reported, but it wasn't being used in ads. They weren't going hard enough, and they were spending too much money on fundraising ads because they were killing it. And in fundraising, that was always true from the beginning, but also they were too early, right? They used up all of their gas too soon. It's like you see the Olympics were just on. It's like swimming the 400 meter. You got to save some gas for that last leg, right? Or else you could be in the lead the whole time, but if you blow your steam before that last leg, it don't matter. You were on your pace to setting a record, and now you're not even going to make the podium, right? And that's, I feel like, what happened to Nina Turner's consultants and advisors, the people that were in her ear running her campaign. It just smells like they got complacent and said, we're killing this.
See, you're way more charitable than I am, man. You're just way more charitable. I have no reason to believe that these consultants and Jeff Weaver were never anything but complacent. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I'm just going off of what I know. I'm only going off the patterns that I have seen where we saw Jeff Weaver allow Bernie to get attacked and destroyed, because it came out in WikiLeaks, I think, where basically it was confirmed Jeff told Bernie, don't attack Hillary. So this is the same person that we have advising Nina, because this isn't the Nina that we saw during the Bernie Sanders campaign. This isn't the Nina that we saw during the general election.
Look, Jeff Weaver is a buffoon. He's fraudulent, right? He should not be anywhere near any campaign, especially anybody that calls himself a progressive, because he's a phony, right? Yeah. He doesn't care. He doesn't believe in any of the things that he backs the candidates, right? He just knows that he's in the Bernie circle and he can get those candidates to shell out some money for him.
He's a millionaire because of it.
Get in their ear. And you know what? There's also a huge thing that nobody's really talking about is that, Nina Turner had bumbling moron Jeff Weaver and Chantel Brown down the stretch from I would say mid-May all the way down at least to July 14th. She paid over $1 million to SKD Knickerbocker, which, it's a funny sounding name, but it's quite a powerful consultancy firm. The D in SKD is Anita Dunn, right? Who up until July 25th was an advisor for the White House. So SKD has worked as lobbyists for the Israeli spyware firm NSO. They've worked as lobbyists for fugitive Nissan executive Carlos Ghosn. They've, worked with 1630 Fund and all of those the Arabella Advisors network of dark money firms. And even earlier this year, they helped Troy Carter win his special election against the progressive that he was running against. They have a history, that firm, of being used by the establishment to crush progressive primary challengers. And it was no different. This year they pulled out. I mean, look, there's a competence level. There's a gap. It's not even a level. There's a competence gap. As nefarious and as, secretive and shady as SKD is, you hold him up against Jeff Weaver and Chuck Rocha. Like, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Chantel Brown and the super PACs, look, Chantel Brown's website had quotes. You know how all their this Brown is a wonderful person that does blah blah blah, right? Mm-hmm. But one of those such quotes was from a man named Mark Mellman, who happens to be the CEO of Mellman Polling Group, but he also happens to be the chair of DMFI PAC, the super PAC that spent $2 million on her that's a little bit too close for comfort. And it's been pointed out by other people that there was a nice little cozy relationship, borderline illegal, because you're not supposed, super PACs and campaigns are not supposed to collaborate.
Facts.
And, so there's always, look, if I'm a Nina supporter, I'm over here saying, sure, the super PAC money, it killed us. The strategy, however, on our end, look, you went down the stretch with 645,000. And here's another little rebuttal to what Tim Black was saying and what Humanist Report was saying, even with the whole, you discourage people to donate, blah, blah, blah. Down the stretch, it was reported to the FEC after July 14th, between July 14th and the day of the election, Nina Turner raised over $150,000 more dollars from donations over $200, itemized donations, right? Because after a certain period, they have to, like, any big donations that they get or loans that they get, they have to report them in like a separate little smaller form. And Nina Turner still got over like $150,000. She ended Q2 with, I'm sorry, I got I'm old school, man. I got a notebook and everything.
Man, I just had to give me a notebook.
she ended Q2 with $650,000. She got another $150,000 at least, and that's not even counting the small dollar donations, which we won't know about again until later. So you're talking about she's got at least almost another $1 million going down the last 3 weeks of the election. If you're not cleaning out the cabinet or the piggy bank on ads, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
Hey, that's the question we need. Well, also, I gotta ask you this, man, because you're the resident super PAC man. We're gonna start calling you Pac man. That's what we're gonna start calling you. But so I heard a lot of talk about like how bad dark money is, and even Nina discussed this in her last speech. And she didn't say super PAC because she has one, but she did talk about
very distinctive, right? The
efficaciousness of dark money and how it was used against her in her race. But if I'm not mistaken, the reason that you have a super PAC is because of the anonymity generally involved in that and the limited fundraising ability. Did Nina not have any dark money in her super PAC, or am I mistaken, Robbie?
Well, here's the thing, man. The term dark money gets thrown around a lot. And quite honestly, there wasn't a whole lot of it. That funded. Okay, so look, first we should probably, and I'm sorry, I'm looking stuff up as we're doing this. I got many different things, but so because I want to make sure I'm telling you the right stuff, you know what I'm saying? But so right, dark money, what is that? Dark money is typically money that comes from like a 501c4 or sometimes a 501c3, depending on how they handle their donors. Basically, let's take give me one. Give me Center for American Progress, right? Mm-hmm. Center for American Progress can raise $10 million, right? And they'll tell you that they raised $10 million, but they won't tell you who they raised $10 million from, right? They won't give you the identities. Sometimes you might get amounts. You're like, oh, some anonymous person donated 5 million of that 10, right? Mm-hmm. That's dark money, because that money, say Center for American Progress decides that they want to make a donation to a super PAC, such as Priorities USA. They want to give $1 million to Priorities USA. Well, since it came from a place that we don't know who gave it to that place, right? There's no name on the donors that gave it to CAP. Now we don't know where that money originated from. So when CAP gives it to a super PAC, such as Priorities USA, that becomes dark money because it's untraceable back to a source other than just a company or a nonprofit, which mm-hmm. isn't really good enough, right? You're not finding the pocket it came out of. That's dark money. Right. Okay. Now, I say that to say this. When it comes to actual dark money, I'm looking at DMFI's donors right now, tons of 5-figure numbers from tons of out-of-state hedge fund managers. There's, an oil heiress here. Again, lots of people from the financial sector. And the only organization that I see that donated was something called the Cohn Family Trust, which is a charity, or a nonprofit or a foundation that belongs to another one of their donors, Victor Cohn.
Okay.
So who works as a financial analyst for Capital Group companies, which is you know, a big financial service. So as far as dark money, I think what she meant was super PAC. I think if she would have just said that, because really,
double back. So what you're saying is there wasn't a lot of actual dark money, like untraceable dark money spent on from the other side, like
right.
So she actually probably did mean super PAC, but now it's like, can you say that because you got a bunch of super PAC money?
I'll say this though, I will give her this. Third Way is actually a perfect example of how dark money would work. So if you want to take the $500,000 from Third Way, sure, you got a case there, right? That is dark money because Third Way does not tell us who gives us their money or who gives them their money. So I'll give her that, and you know, I think Third Way with all the attention.
So let me just say this. You hear this? Yeah. You gave a very elaborate and educational breakdown of exactly the definition of all of this stuff. The problem with that is that you had to give us an elaborate and educational breakdown for all of this. Because I guess in one particular case in this particular situation, but the problem is you can go to one particular case in her situation where she spent dark money too. She just didn't spend it as effectively. I mean, that's the issue. It's like, if we're going to speak, hold on real quick. If we're going to speak like a Democrat, okay? If we're going to raise money like Democrats, if we're going to act like and acquiesce to the Democratic establishment, then why in the hell would they not just vote for the Democrat? You're not incentivized. Okay, if I'm gonna get literally everything, the same exact things that I would get from the Democratic establishment, that's what's being offered here. I mean, yeah, Nina is progressive in a lot of policy, but her rhetoric noticeably changed. That's why a lot of people decided not to donate to her as well. And you're raising a bunch of money. Like the consulting firm that you hired literally told you, hey man, do as the Democrats do to beat the Democrats. No, because all the Democrats are pissed at you. And like the people that you had that were loyal and supportive, they started becoming a little nervous and uneasy at the direction you were taking. So now you lost their support. The people who may have voted for you, because they support Democrats, I guess until we found a better option. And then their Democrat came, and they literally ran a prototypical younger version of what they believe superficially Nina Turner to be. 'Cause that's what the Democrats do. And every time. And so the result, the necessary and logical result will be every time you will get less because you stopped asking for more. You stopped showing to be more than what a Democrat is, but you've already pissed off people enough because you already show you're not a Democrat either. So when you start acting like a Democrat, you might get some, but that's not enough. People are like, oh man, people are mad because she didn't go scorched earth enough. Man, nobody asked her to go scorched. Like, is asking for healthcare going scorched earth, bro? Is in the middle of a pandemic. You know, everybody's saying we gotta shut shit down because of how important our health is. Because you gotta save lives. But healthcare, we can't fight for that. Because once upon a time, I remember Nina, and I love Nina to death. Don't get it twisted, y'all. I love Nina to death. Her running in what I would consider to be a lackluster race does not erase 5 years of sacrifice and vitriol that she's experienced for being on the right side. So let me just go ahead and clear that up. However, I remember one CNN interview that I covered extensively when Nina Turner said, we got to stop pretending like these problems started when when the Republicans and Donald Trump came into power, right? She had no problem challenging the Democrats' lack of courage when it came to fighting for the hardest issues. Well, now the Democrats have all the power. And she stopped criticizing them. So what is it going to sound like to the cynical person who has already been jaded time and time again and gave money to one candidate after one candidate who made one promise after another promise? When you are refusing to live by what you told other people, live by the ethos that you told other people to live by, what other result would you? What other result should you have expected?
I mean, is this not the definition of insanity? How progressive campaigns are continuously run like the same way, completely mismanaged or hyper focused on fundraising, out of state money too. And look, this is the thing. That's what tainted this race as well. And it really muddled the picture here. Was all of the out of state money that these candidates were getting. look, I'm a campaign finance reformist above anything else, right? I think that we should be trying to get less money. The money, forget a 6-to-1 ratio or a 6-to-1 multiplier like the For the People Act was going to try to give you, right? That would have just exploded money in politics. We're moving the opposite direction in that case, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about reformist as in make the maximum amount of money that you can donate to a campaign be like $500. And I'm not joking. Like something so small, because right now the maximum was $2,900.
Because then all of a sudden you have to reach more people.
Well, here's the thing though, also is that the high is so high that only the wealthy can still afford that. Like, can you, are you going to be dropping $3,000 on somebody's campaign, or $6,000 if you want to donate primary and elect? Exactly.
Shit, they'd be lucky if I donate $6,000 to my rent this month. No, I'm playing.
And that's what I'm saying is that, you know, a lot of people, like most grassroots funders are not able to shell out more than like a couple $100s a year, and that's at most, right? Maybe, you know, so making the maximum almost $3,000, you can still see the disparity. That's how establishment candidates catch up. If you made the maximum something that some, you know, average people could maybe afford, you know, that's a one way to combat that. But another thing is that ban out-of-state money in congressional races or Senate races for that matter. If you don't live in Ohio, you shouldn't be able to donate to the Rays. Like, I know that sounds like a crazy idea.
It's kind of not though. It's really not, man. And no, it sounds like kind of like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. Like, but in reality, we're supposed to be separate states within a union.
And that's not a perfect analogy. Look, and it's not a perfect idea, but like, I think it benefits more than it hurts, right? I mean, it means you got to fundraise from where you're getting your votes from. What's the problem with that?
Yeah.
It's a more true show.
It means you're beholden to the people you represent rather than the people who are donating.
I mean, Chantel Brown is gonna, because if that's the case, Chantel Brown's gonna be more beholden to the people of New York.
Shit, she's gonna be more beholden to the people of Israel.
But you know, look,
she's about to get her own statue in Tel Aviv. The way they acting.
But my whole thing with this whole race, like my closing thoughts on this is that, like, look, you know, we gave you the numbers, right? You know, yes, there was a spending deficit that was brought on by super PACs. But again, the strategy, this has got to be something, this could be a learning experience for the progressive if they actually are just able to be honest. Listen, they can do it if they can just be fucking honest with themselves and their audience, right? Then this could be something that progressives can learn from. This was look, on paper and just looking at when the money was spent, how it was spent, how much was spent on consultants. You know, look, there's nothing you can do about the super PAC spending. That's completely out of your control. You can come out, if you ran for office today, you could come out and say, I do not want anybody anywhere to start me a super PAC, right? The very next day, I could go out and start one for you, and you would have no recourse whatsoever. That's just the way it works. So you have to,
unless you have I think there was one specific situation where somebody actually like straight up, it's like, no, I told her I want a super PAC. I'm not. Oh, actually, bro, that was Kennedy. Actually, somebody tried to start a super PAC for him. And he was like, no, don't do that. I'm not taking any of your money. Don't write any ads for me. Don't do shit. And he told Marky to do the same, and Marky didn't want to. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, I mean, my whole thing is that you have to anticipate. Of course, the establishment in a high-profile race is going to find somebody to start a super PAC. And yes, once that donor roll, that donor book gets opened, those checks are going to start coming in quick, fast. Nina Turner still managed to outraise Chantel Brown, but from most of the money coming from out of state, that wasn't an accurate reflection of the support she had. And before we go on, she blew a 35-point lead. I find it funny that so many of the people who spent years and years talking about how shit and dumb the polls are now all of a sudden using the polls as a metric of Nina Turner's lead.
That's true.
I just don't see that, you know, as, you know, it just doesn't. I feel like, again, we're making excuses.
It's inconsistent.
Humanist Report making excuses.
Yo, real quick, I gotta read this comment from Craig R on YouTube. He said Chantel got so much money from Israel, she about to change her name to Goldberg like Whoopi.
I'm dead.
Bruh. Oh shit.
It should be, but look, it should be noted that a lot of Chantel Brown's money that she received was bundled. The donations were bundled by a pro-Israel America PAC. like over $500,000 of her grand total. What was it? I'm so sorry. She wound up with like $2.1 million, like $500,000, like 25% of that almost came from pro-Israel America PAC bundling for her. So I mean, yeah.
So with that being said, we talked about the finance side, but I do really quick want to talk about some of the excuses we were seeing dished out, because this Tim Black clip that I want to play for y'all is just, bruh. I know this man lost it a while ago, but I'm gonna tell y'all what I think it is in a second, but I'm gonna go ahead and pull this up for y'all so y'all can hear it.
Not today. Go that way. Get the fuck out. You're not wanted. We are done with you. It's over. Kick rocks. And that goes for Brianna Joy Gray too, who went down to Ohio just to gloat through her new individuals, and she pretends to understand the pro-blacks while she does simulcasting for the Hill and looks down her nose at poor people. You don't have to retweet me. I don't want your retweet, sister. I want you out the way, and take your funny clown comedian with you. Go on the Joe Rogan show. You can't get a job doing nothing else except shitting on the true left, shitting on us, and then pretending to be our friends. I don't need your retweets. I don't need your fake hellos. I saw you in Ohio. My mom still lives here, so I'm just here because I was just in the neighborhood, you know.
Bruh. So let me just go ahead and say, guys, it should be noted that the last journalists that decided they wanted to try to make their career by attacking Brianna Joy Gray, nobody ever hears from Ben Dixon anymore, do they? You don't see him on TV no more. He's not even on TYT anymore. He hasn't been on the Hill. He's nowhere to be found. The only person seeing Ben Dixon is Ben Dixon looking in the mirror. So this probably isn't a good omen for Tim. But I just want everybody to recognize the amount of projection that's in this clip. First of all, you are talking about, I don't need your retweets. I don't need, like, bro, nobody asked you if you wanted their retweets. But clearly you do. She's, talking about going to talk to poor black people with her platform so they have fair representation. But she's going on the Hill every now and then, by the way. She doesn't go on the Hill that often because Kim Iverson's actually the co-host of the Hill for the foreseeable future until they find a replacement for the last person. Oh man, I'm in Ohio because my mom lives here, so it's an important state. This is important for me. This race is important for me. I'm friends with Nina, and oh yeah, you're pretending like you're so conveniently in Ohio because your mom lives there and Nina's running. Well, yeah, these are the exact circumstances where you would probably end up in a city if you were a journalist and were thinking about covering a race, and the deciding factor was how are you going to pay for your accommodations. If my mom lived there, yeah, I would probably go. So because Bree did her job, it's Bree's fault.
Dude, no, okay, look. It's funny. There's so many different things about what he said that was just totally off base, for one, because it's like, okay, for one, I don't want your retweets, yet how many different times in that rant did he go on to say, give me half your followers, get out of the way, when he was talking about somebody else? So do you not want the retweets or do you want the followers? Like, which one is it? But regardless of that, but it's okay. And then after he goes off on his tirade, that's the only way I know how to describe it, about I was going to call it a temper tantrum, but about how he throws Jimmy Dore obviously into the mix. He goes after Kyle Kalinske. He goes after just about everybody. And then after he goes off, right,
he went after Kyle,
cussing him out, and yeah, he goes off for forever, cussing him out, calling him every name under the sun, and then turns around and says, "No, I'm not saying that if they wouldn't have, changed, if they would have done something different, that Nita would have won. I'm not saying that she would have won." Well, then what the fuck are you saying? Exactly, because to me it sounds like you're just making a bunch of fucking excuses. If you look, you can go down the route again. We can talk about the outside spending in the super PACs, fine, but you have to admit that there was problems in Nina's campaign from a leadership level, and it was mismanaged. Chantel Brown had better strategy because she had better strategists. It is that simple. Stop making excuses.
They used to tell us.
Be honest with your viewers.
They used to tell us during the Bernie campaign that because some of us supported Tulsi, that somehow it stopped the man who raised the most money in the history of elections. Like that's why he lost. It isn't because, which by the way is another factor that needs to be considered, the fact that there was election fraud, very clear examples of election fraud all across the country. He had a legal team that could have challenged in advance. Like he could have put foot on throats to figure out whether, and preempted, by the way, because if he would have announced, hey, we have our attorney standing by just in case there's any funny business because we want to make sure that everybody's vote is being counted. You don't even have to say Joe Biden's name to say that. And Nina had the money, clearly, and her consulting firm especially had the money to say, hey, we're going to be standing by because we understand that there are usually attempts, or at least there are usually some mistakes that could happen. And there's sometimes things could slip through the cracks. So we possible to make sure there wasn't election fraud in a state like Ohio, where election fraud is rampant.
Look, there's so many things that we can go through that, again, this wasn't, just Tim Black called it a robbery. He said that Nina Turner was robbed in Ohio. No,
we don't know.
I'm sorry.
But
the realization is that Nina Turner got beat. She didn't get robbed. She got beat.
Well, right? I don't want to. Oh, she did lose. No, I can't. Like I said, when you're accounting for election fraud, or the possibility of, you can't, because the software there is all proprietary. Actually, I think Pasta and Fear are going to do another piece on that pretty soon when the election data gets out. So, like, is there a possibility that Nina didn't legitimately lose, and that's why they called the race so early? There is a huge possibility that that's the case, but that's not. Why does it take Pasta and Fiorella? Why does it take Pasta and Fiorella to tell Tim Canova?
And I mean, look, again, these people gotta stop making excuses. Like Tim Black, Mike Figueroa, anybody else that's out there just trying to, like, they're searching, like they're soul searching, like just trying to find, like, what went wrong. I would like to remind everybody that Nina Turner's campaign raised more money than Chantel Brown and DMFI put together. Okay.
Shit.
Between July 14th. All right. Yes, there was a whole lot of outside spending. It's bad. It's a terrible thing. It should be out of politics completely. But you have to anticipate establishment tactics, and they didn't. They had some money in the bank whenever it was time, but whenever it was crunch time, look, they say that you can't change the vote the day before you're not going to change votes the day before the election. That might be true. You can definitely influence votes a month before the election, 2 weeks before the election, in that time period when people are really getting down to the wire about making a decision, right? And
that's why people do the get out the vote effort the 2 days before an election is like everybody
incredibly sloppy.
Yeah, it's sloppy, but it should be. I'm saying, like, the get out the vote effort for every major campaign that wants to win, bro. The money you spend on that last day, the last 2 days before that election, and even the day of, it's spent for a reason. Because a lot of people literally read the literature at the damn line. They read it in line.
Knocking on doors. I mean, yeah, maybe if you want to knock some doors the last couple of days, but it's too late to run ads by then.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, no. You can run ads the day before, too.
Well, when you're getting crushed with misleading ads and you do nothing.
Yeah, in that context, like, do nothing and then try to do something the day before. Yeah, that's stupid. You can't do that.
And you've got again, for a month.
That's facts.
She was getting crushed. And she had $800,000 sitting in the bank, and at least you don't anticipate that you're going to need more money at the end than you are at the beginning. Duh.
Well, that's why she had $800,000 in the bank, Robbie.
But again, yeah, out of $4.5 million, like all the money that she had already spent. And
like I said, I got a funny feeling, by the way, that we're gonna find out when Robbie, by the way, because Robbie's always on this shit. We're going to find out, most likely, that some of that money was being spent in places it shouldn't have been spent, because this is exactly what we found out in Bernie Sanders' campaign. I want to say, too, to address your reasoning as to why they're playing the blame game. I have my own personal opinion as to why that may be. And I think it's because they were trying to find another personality to hitch their wagon to. Robbie, there's no more Bernie Sanders anymore for them to jock ride all the way into progressive stardom. They have to actually do what's that shit that we do sometimes journalism. That's it. Shit. Journalism. They got to do journalism now. And journalism, we don't know when you really have no history of actually doing journalism, isn't all that profitable. because you suck at it. And so Nina, especially because she made it clear that she was considering a run in 2024, they were trying to hitch their wagon. And the fact that they didn't, what Tim is screaming about is he's screaming at all the people who found success after Bernie's campaign by continuing to be as honest as they were during his campaign and evolving even so after his campaign, because he decided to go all on the grift by attacking his friends, attacking anybody who's ever been close to him, attacking anybody who's ever helped him at all. He realized, shit, Nina's my last chance. And yeah, I mean, not that Nina can't run again in 2024. So I don't know.
You know what? It's funny you say that, because in 2024, Nina's going to run again. She's probably going to hire Jeff Weaver and or Chuck Rocha again. She's going to get smeared by super PACs again. And she's going to lose again. And then progressive media is going to throw their hands up in the air and be like, what happened? I can't believe it. Super PACs and dark money. Again, yeah, again, dude, again. It's going to keep happening again and again and again until there's either reform, actual reform that comes down the pipe, which, again, Democrats will never give you because they benefit. Democrats benefited from like 4 times as much super PAC spending as, 4 times as much dark money spending in the 2020 election as Republicans did. Democrats are never going to get rid of that. They're never going to push for like Citizens United to get overturned. They benefit more than the Republicans do from that. So it's going to keep happening. But until campaigns wisen up with how they spend their money and stop shelling out so much money, like again, Nina Turner's spending twice as much on consulting. And look, I'm not just pulling these numbers out of thin air. Like, this is what the disbursements are quantified as. Like any kind of consulting, I went through all of their filings and added them up. Like, it is a fact. Nina Turner spent double the amount. She also raised double the amount. So again, if you're going to argue, you can say that. But again, too much money spent. I feel like in places they spent like $83,000 on merchandise, like merchandising. Is that? I mean, and is that a viable fundraising strategy, or is that like a viable get out the vote strategy to you make $83,000 worth of like T-shirts or pins and buttons? Like, is that really work? I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Facts, man.
Just a lot of questionable decisions. And again, like Tim Black, Mike Figueredo, whoever, you're going to block me. You're going to get mad. You're going to say, oh, you weren't in Ohio, so shut the fuck up. Fuck you. I don't care. You got to be honest with your viewers about at least the money side of the shit, man.
Facts.
Like,
so
educate your viewers, man. Don't be disingenuous. Or they're never gonna learn nothing.
Really quick, Robbie, we gotta get up out of here because we actually, I mean, a little bit, but go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you at, because I know you got a lot of stuff going on now. You got a blog or a newsletter that you even do to update people about stuff like, who spent more money in the race, so you don't get embarrassed on Twitter and feel the need to block people so no one finds out that you're full of shit.
So again, you referenced it. That is Politify. That is my new Substack. It's been going on for a few weeks now. Basically, it just covers all the major campaign finance stories, all of the stock trades made by our government officials, Congress, executive branch, super PAC donors, all the nice nerdy numbers stuff that don't get enough love. I try to cram them all into a weekly newsletter. So you can find me at jaeger.substack.com. That is where that is. Other than that, you can find me on Twitter. Yep, you can find me on Twitter at RobLittleFire. I do a lot of breaking stuff there. That's where I do my shit talking too. And before I get out of here, Niko, again, man, good on you for like we might not do another show before then, but September is be my 2-year anniversary with the network.
Wow.
So appreciate you just giving me that inspiration and that help, man. I appreciate all the love you've shown me over the last 2 years. And for your viewers out there, if you guys get bored later on tonight after you're done reading my Substack, if you want to fill in some time, I encourage everybody to find some literature on the effects of autism, and just so we learn something, read something, so we can just start building a more educated, inclusive, and accepting world for our neurodiverse brothers and sisters out there. And other than that, that's it for me. Niko, once again, man, congrats, and appreciate you having me on, bro.
Hey, man, I appreciate you, bro, and thanks for always making us look like we're way better at investigative journalism than we actually are sometimes. Y'all don't know what Robbie be going through to get these breaking stories, y'all. Like, bro, he be breaking stuff in the bathroom, dog. He be in the bathroom at work, just bop, bop, bop. Still out-scooped y'all motherfuckers. Like, that's what he does, man. And it's, you know, like I said, the whole network has stories like that. The stuff that we've done and been through to continue to break stories and provide it's just objective analysis. And, you know, like I said, I wouldn't even really be in this position without just the great work of everybody on this network. And I appreciate you know, sticking around and constantly being willing to, unfortunately, do a lot of work where you don't necessarily get the credit you deserve from the rest of the world. And so hopefully, you know, this is an opportunity for us to make sure you begin to get that credit. So everybody else, thank you all. I appreciate all the congratulations from the RT stuff. In case you're just now getting here, I am part of RT now. I will be getting my own show, among some other things. I'm actually going to be interviewing Tara Reid tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And I actually will also be we're going to try to interview Rose McGowan this week to get her opinion on what's going on with the Cuomo situation as well. And what's up?
CAA.
Yeah, boy. You know you're going to be talking about that too.
You need to ask her about that, you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm excited. That's a part. I know that's a little Easter egg. I don't think she's going to be ready for that one. She's going to be like, oh, shit, y'all know about it? Yeah, we be knowing. Yeah, we be knowing.
Higher. Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to get her in contact with you too. I'm going to see if we can get, because, yeah, man, you the king of that. So, appreciate you guys. Make sure to subscribe to our Rockfin and our YouTube if you have not yet. But always, of course, remember more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.